Alright, Shalom. I want to start off by giving, as always, all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and sincere Shalom to all you other Akim who are pushing this word in truth and sincerity all around the globe. We are the real Hebrew Israelites. The real Hebrew Israelites, according to the Bible, are you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And if you're of any other nation, then your seed line by your father goes back to the man in the scriptures named Jacob, who is then named Israel, which means he is a prince of the power, which is where you get the term Israel from, which is Yasharallah in the Hebrew. If your bloodline goes back to the man named Jacob, then you are an Israelite, no matter what you look like. If you look like a Chinese or a Japanese, it's because this is all based upon bloodlines. Okay, so in the last lesson I uploaded, I was meditating on some scriptures that I found quite comforting in the book of Psalms, in Psalms chapter 1 through chapter 5. So I was just meditating on that, and I was going to get into reading Psalms chapter 6 through 10. So I thought I'd just do a lesson on this, and maybe it'll be edifying for any other Akim who might be listening. So I'm basically just going to be reading through these Psalms. So here I'm going to start with Psalm chapter 6, and it says, to the chief musician Neginoth, upon Sheminith, a psalm of David. It says, O Yahweh, rebuke me not in thine anger, neither chasten me in thy hot displeasure. Have mercy upon me, O Yahweh, for I am weak. O Yahweh, heal me, for my bones are vexed. My soul is also sore vexed, but thou, O Yahweh, how long? Return, O Yahweh, deliver my soul, O save me for thy mercy's sake. For in death there is no remembrance of thee, in the grave who shall give thee thanks? I am weary with my groaning, all the night I make my bed to swim, I water my couch with my tears. Mine eye is consumed because of grief, it waxeth old because of all mine enemies. Depart from me, all you workers of iniquity, for Yahweh hath heard the voice of my weeping. Yahweh hath heard my supplication, and Yahweh will receive my prayer. Let all mine enemies be ashamed and sore vexed. Let them return and be ashamed suddenly. Now, this is something that I've been meditating on in the days of this week by myself personally, about how vexing it is to be in this society where you're constantly surrounded by the wicked, the ungodly people who aren't meditating in the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. You know what I mean? Every day I go out of my house, it's like entering it's a battle. You're basically fighting to retain your integrity. You're fighting to retain your righteousness in an unrighteous world, basically. So it can be difficult. So I find it personally very good to keep these words in mind. So let's move on to Psalms chapter 7. It says, Shigaon of David, which he sang unto Yahweh concerning the words of Cush the Benjamite. It says, O Yahweh, my power, in thee do I put my trust. Save me from all them that persecute me, and deliver me. Lest he tear my soul like a lion, render it in pieces, while there is none to deliver. O Yahweh, my power, if I have done this, if there be iniquity in my hands, if I have rewarded evil unto him that was at peace with me, yea, I have delivered him that without cause is mine enemy. Let mine enemy persecute my soul and take it. Yea, let him tread down my life upon the earth, and lay mine honour in the dust, Selah. Arise, O Yahweh, in thine anger. Lift up thyself because of the rage of mine enemies, and awake for me to the judgment that thou hast commanded. So shall the congregation of the people compass thee about for their sakes, therefore return thou on high. Yahweh shall judge the people. Judge me, O Yahweh, according to my righteousness, and according to mine integrity that is in me. O let the wickedness of the wicked come to an end, but establish the just, for the righteous power trieth the hearts and reins. My defence is of power, which saveth the upright in heart. Power judgeth the righteous, and power is angry with the wicked all day. I'm going to read that verbatim because that's a powerful precept there. It says, Psalms 7 and 11. God judgeth the righteous, and God is angry with the wicked every day. Again, that's something beautiful to keep in mind as we're walking along this this narrow path of the truth, So that's beautiful, beautiful precept. I'll continue. In verse 12 it says, if he turn not, he will whet his sword. He hath bent his bow and made it ready. And that's talking about the missiles and the great judgment that's going to come to Babylon the Great. It's going to get hit by thermonuclear destruction, but that destruction is going to be worldwide, not just America. So he hath prepared for him the instruments of death. He hath ordained his arrows against the persecutors, and that's talking about the missiles. Behold, he travaileth with iniquity, and hath conceived mischief, and brought forth falsehood. He hath made a pit and digged it, and is fallen into the ditch which he made. And that's talking about the wicked Esau. His mischief shall return upon his own head. His violent dealing shall come down upon his own pate. I will praise Yahweh according to his righteousness, and will sing praises to the name of Yahweh the Most High. Beautiful psalm. Psalm 7. Moving on to Psalm number 8. I'm just going to read from 6 to 10 in this lesson. So here's Psalm number 8. It says, to the chief musician upon Gittith, a psalm of David. O Yahweh, O Yahweh our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. Who has set thy glory above the heavens? Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings hast thou ordained strength because of thine enemies, that thou mightest still the enemy and the avenger. When I consider that thy heavens and the work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars which thou hast ordained, what is man that thou art mindful of him, and the son of man that thou visiteth him? For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honour. Thou hast made him to have dominion over the works of thy hands. Thou hast put all things under his feet. I guess that's speaking of Yahushua. All sheep and oxen, yea, and the beasts of the field, the fowl of the air and the fish of the sea, and whatsoever passeth through the paths of the seas. O Yahweh our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. How excellent is thy name in all the earth. And that's right, because in us doing the work that we're doing now in this labour, doing the work of prophets, we're supposed to be giving glory unto the name of our power, which is Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. So, Yahweh needs to get his praise in the earth. And, sometimes it can be a bit horrible living this life where, you're constantly catching L's as an Israelite man. You're constantly being looked down upon, treated, and, as the saying goes, you're the last hired and first fired. We're taking all these afflictions, and obviously we want to get our glory, but the Lord's got to get his first. First Yahweh's got to get his glory, then Yahweh Shai's going to get his glory, and then we'll be crowned according to Revelation chapter 2 and 2nd Ezra, where it says he put crowns upon the men that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. Yeah. So, we will get our crowns, but, the Lord's got to get his glory first. So that's why we always start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Beautiful. So moving on to Psalm number 9. This says, to the chief musician upon Mathlablen, forgive me, Salakia, a psalm of David. I will praise thee, O Yahweh, with my whole heart. I will shew forth all thy marvellous works. I will be glad and rejoice in thee. I will sing praise to thy name, O thou most high. When mine enemies are turned back, they shall fall and perish at thy presence. For thou hast maintained my right and my cause. Thou sattest in the throne judging right. Thou hast rebuked the heathen. Thou hast destroyed the wicked. The wicked is Esau. Thou hast, and 2/3 of Jake at the moment, they're being wicked too, but Esau is the main wicked. This is in verse 5. Thou hast rebuked the heathen. Thou hast destroyed the wicked. Thou hast put out their name forever and ever. Yeah, I guess that precept links over Obadiah 1 and 18, which is a prophecy yet to be fulfilled. Carrying on in verse 6, it says, O thou enemy, destructions are come to a perpetual end. O thou enemy, destructions are come to a perpetual end, and thou hast destroyed cities. Their memorial is perished with them. But Yahweh shall endure forever. He hath prepared his throne for judgment, and he shall judge the world in righteousness. He shall minister judgment to the people in uprightness. Boy, that's a day I can't wait for. And in verse 9 it says, Yahweh will also be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. Yes, Jacob's trouble, which is imminent. Verse 10 says, and they that know thy name will put their trust in thee, for thou, Yahweh, hast not forsaken them that seek thee. Sing praises to Yahweh, which dwelleth in Zion. Declare among the people his doings, which is beautiful, which is what the prophets are doing right now by declaring these words. Verse 12 says, when he maketh inquisition for blood, he remembereth them. He forgetteth not the cry of the humble. Have mercy upon me, O Yahweh. Consider my trouble, which I suffer of them that hate me. Thou that liftest me up from the gates of death, that I may shew forth all thy praise in the gates of the daughter of Zion. I will rejoice in thy salvation. The heathen are sunk down in the pit that they made. Beautiful. I guess that's precepts with Psalms 83. In the net which they hid is their own foot taken. Verse 16 says, Yahweh is known by the judgment which he executeth. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. Higeon, Selah. The wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget power, or forget Yahweh. For the needy shall not always be forgotten. The expectation of the poor shall not perish forever. Arise, O Yahweh, let not man prevail. Let the heathen be judged in thy sight. Put them in fear, O Yahweh, that the nations may know themselves to be but men. Selah. Again, another beautiful psalm, man. I mean, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Wisdom of Solomon, Sirach. I mean, I can't get enough of these books, man. The wisdom and the comfort that I find in these books. I mean, hopefully this is comforting to you, Archeum, who are listening to this too. But personally, man, I love these words. So let me move on to Psalm 10, which is the final one I'll read in this lesson. It says, this is Psalms 10. Why standest thou afar off, O Yahweh? Why hidest thou thyself in times of trouble? The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous whom Yahweh abhorreth. The wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after power. Power is not in his thoughts. I'll read that verbatim. Slakia. Yeah, I'll read that verbatim. In verse 4 it says, the wicked in the pride of his countenance will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts. His ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far out of his sight. For all his enemies he puffeth at them. As for all his enemies he puffeth at them. He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. And that is basically the nature of those Edomites. If ever you've been around them long enough, you'll notice that they're completely contrary to the laws, statutes and commandments of God. They do everything opposite. And they don't have God in their thoughts. So, verse 7 again. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places doth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set against the poor. He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. And the poor would be us Israelites in this condition that we're in at the moment, in this lower state. He croucheth, this is verse 10, he says, he croucheth and humble himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones. He hath said in his heart, God hath forgotten. He hideth his face, he will never see it. Arise, O Yahweh, O power, lift up thine hand, forget not the humble. Wherefore doth the wicked contemn God? He hath said in his heart, thou wilt not require it. So all this time that, I guess, since the Renaissance period when Esau came back into power, and he's had Jacob, in this state of slavery, he's basically been thinking that because Yahweh hasn't judged him for it yet, that he's got away with it and that Yahweh's forgotten. But that ain't the case. The Lord is long suffering, and this is all part of Yahweh's plan, God's plan. You know, Drake done that song, God's plan. Well, yeah, this is Yahweh's plan, and everything is going according to the letter. There's nothing that can transgress the laws or the will of Yahweh. So I'll read again in verse 13. It says, "Wherefore doth the wicked contemn God? He has said in his heart, Thou wilt not require it. Thou hast seen it, for thou beholdest mischief and spite, to requite it with thine hand. The poor committeth himself unto thee. Thou art the helper of the fatherless." And, a lot of Jake's, unfortunately, the family unit is being completely destroyed by Esau. And a lot of Jakes ended up growing up not knowing their fathers. And that all goes back to the Willie Lynch letter, which is a very good read if you haven't read it, to understand the psychology or the psychological warfare that has been employed to break down our nation. But if you look around, you'll see these curses are starting to fall upon the Edomites themselves. I mean, I know a lot of Edomites who, their families are split up and all this kind of shit. So the tables are beginning to turn, and all these curses are beginning to fall upon the other nations. So continuing on in verse 15, it says, "Break thou the arm of the wicked and the evil man." Let me say that again. "Break thou the arm of the wicked and the evil man. Seek out his wickedness till thou find none." And in verse 16 it says, "Yahweh is king forever and ever. The heathen are perished out of his land." Well, that would be a beautiful day when those gutter rats get rooted out of our homeland, which is Israel, which they're currently occupying. And that's pertaining to Revelations 2 and 9 and Revelations 3 and 9. Those are the precepts for that. So verse 17 it says, "Yahweh, thou hast heard the desire of the humble. Thou wilt prepare their heart. Thou wilt cause thine ear to hear." And finally in verse 18 it says, "To judge the fatherless and the oppressed, and the man of the earth may no more oppress." So let me say it again. "To judge the fatherless and the oppressed, that the man of the earth may no more oppress." So we're looking forward to the time when Yahushua comes and delivers us from this captivity, and we get to put our enemies in slavery, starting with the elite banking families, the Rothschilds, the Gettys, the DuPonts, the Oppenheimers. Those elite banking families, those are going to be the first to go headlong into slavery. As GMS on the Go says, headlong into slavery. I like that. So it's coming up to the 20-minute mark, and I don't want to make this lesson too long. So this is a good place for me to wrap it up. So Lord willing, that's been edifying to anybody who's been listening to these words. If you haven't read these Psalms, it would behoove you to do so, especially in these times when we're coming into what's soon going to be the famine of the word. You really need to get into these scriptures, learn these precepts, go over it and over it. And the more you go over it, the more the precepts will stick in your mind. And it's going to be this word that's going to be what's going to deliver you, or be your stability in the times to come. It says, "For knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of our times." And it also says, "The name of the Lord is a strong tower, and those who fear him run into it and are saved." Something to that effect. It's lucky I'm roughly paraphrasing, but so basically, meditate on these scriptures day in, day out. That's what I advise. That's what I try to do. So with that, I'm going to say all praise, honor, and glory once again to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Shalom to all of you sincere Akim who are pushing this word around the globe in faith and sincerity. So I want to say Kwam Yasharala and Abad Babal. Shalom. Till the next time, Lord willing.